Okay, so I went over this a couple times since I wanted to see what characters actually make the most sense for the new Demon Slayer game, and I went through the whole first season of Demon Slayer and picked out every character that has the best possibility to be on the roster. Now, just because I mention a character, that doesn't mean I technically really care to have them on the roster. It just means they either are definitely in the game or most likely will be in the game, and just because I don't mention a character doesn't mean I don't want them in the game. And I believe there are going to be a lot of characters who exist in the story mode, but you won't be able to play as them or fight them. With this all said, here is the most likely list for the entire roster for the new Demon Slayer game coming in 2021. Let's get the obvious out of the way. Tanjiro is confirmed playable for the game. He is the first character we've seen. He was in the reveal trailer as well as pretty much every gameplay photo. He's the main character, so of course this Best Boy award winner is going to be in the game. Now, this next one might not be so obvious, especially since the character technically doesn't even have a name, but we have seen him in gameplay photos in a match against Tanjiro, so I'm assuming he's playable, and that is the final selection demon. Originally, I thought this was the demon in the bog, but I was wrong. They just both looked pretty much similar. But this demon has sword-like bones in his arms that allow him to stab opponents, kind of like Baraka from Mortal Kombat, but at a different angle. Now, you know Nezuko has to be playable in this game. I'm sure many people would have an uprising if their waifu wasn't on the freaking roster, but I'm sure we'll be able to play as her fairly early in the story since she's part of the fight with Tomioka. Speaking of Tomioka, obviously there is a key fight in the start of the series, so he'll most likely be on the roster. He's a pretty important character, and I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be playable, especially since I feel people are dying for Hashiras to get in this game. After Tanjiro and Nezuko's confrontation with Tomioka, the first demon they encounter, who also doesn't have a name but is officially labeled as the demon in the temple. I'm pretty sure all these demon names are gonna change, but I would actually find it funny if they didn't. But this demon is the demon that Tanjiro and Nezuko meet on their way to Mount Sagari. His moveset should be interesting since his head and body came apart in the fight with Tanjiro, and then his head grew arms. After him is Urikadaki, the man who trains Tanjiro and who was a former Hashira. He would actually be one of my most wanted characters to play as, so I hope he'll be fun. But I could also see Sabito making it onto the roster. This is Urikadaki's former student who trains Tanjiro as a spirit. Another demon I could see on the roster is the demon in the bog. Now, I think he would be a pretty cool character to play as. If you could remember, this demon has 3 different versions of himself, so I'm not sure if all 3 versions will be 3 separate characters or if they'll all have 3 as just one character, but we'll have to wait and see. After him, we've got Yaiba. I'm pretty sure CyberConnect 2 won't just straight up ignore this fight in the story. Yaiba is the guy who has eyeballs embedded into the palms of his hands and shoots out arrows. And in that same fight, we also have Susamaru, who is the female demon who loves to get her hands on some balls, and the one who defeats her is Lady Tamayo. I can see all 3 of these characters making it onto the roster. Now we get to the big one, and that's Zenitsu, my favorite freaking character in this series. Of course he's going to be on the roster. He's one of the main characters and is just too awesome to pass up. And I could say something very similar about Inosuke being on the roster, so I'm pretty sure he's gonna be on the roster. And of course, when these 2 characters get reintroduced, we see the fight between Tanjiro and Kyogai, who is one of the coolest demons so far. His moveset should be super interesting because his moves are based around his bongo type instruments, so we'll see what they have in store for us. One of the biggest arcs of season 1 dealt with the spider demons, but there are only 3 that I actually see as playable characters for this game. The father, because of course he looks cool as hell, and of course he played a major role in the fight against Tanjiro and Inosuke. Then there's of course Rui, one of the most popular characters to come from season 1, and he's just too pivotal to the story not to be on the roster. The last is the daughter, who we see fight Shinobu Kocho. And then of course Shinobu Kocho will be the next playable Hashira on the roster, which is a no-brainer. Then her disciple Suyuri might end up being on the roster, but I just have the feeling that she'll be DLC. But let's just say she'll be there since we kind of have a fight with Nezuko and she trains Tanjiro and Zenitsu and Inosuke. As the main villain of the series, Muzan, he'll definitely be on the roster. I just don't see them not including him since he's the big bad. It would be like One's Justice not having All For One, so you can be pretty certain that Muzan will be a playable character. The final 2 characters on the roster are Hashiras, and this is Shinazugawa since he has a confrontation with Tanjiro and Nezuko. In the game, they might just have us fight him. And the next character is Rengoku, although I'm 90% sure he's going to end up being a DLC character because of the new movie coming out. But including him, that gives us a roster of 22 characters, which I would say is pretty decent considering it's the first game in the series. I want to thank you guys for watching today's video. I would appreciate it if you guys left a like, as it does help out the channel. Let me know what you guys think. My name's Konjic, and I'll talk to you in the next video.